Greetings, students. As we should now have had our body paragraphs developed, we must now work toward concluding our essay. If you recall, in the first video in which I introduced this prompt, I stated that there was an additional question that can be drawn from the prompt, and that we would be returning to that part of the prompt when we conclude our essay. This is the part of the prompt to which we are returning, and responding to this part of the prompt will involve use of a skill that we practiced heavily in our Greek mythology unit. You can actually pause the video here and answer the question I will currently pose in the class comments as part of your weekly participation in response to the weekly discussion topics. How would you describe what is being asked of us in this part of the prompt? If you answered something to the effect of, "We are explaining how the novel informs us of how a particular culture is, or beliefs they might have, or things that they undergo," you would be correct. And in the case of the Joy Luck Club, the particular culture or cultures about which we are learning are Chinese and Chinese American. Now, there's a very specific reason that it might be appropriate to include an answer to this question in the conclusion, and I want you to consider why as we go over the objectives for the conclusion. The conclusion serves a very important function in any written response. So we have this essay in which we have already introduced the topics that are being discussed. We have related those topics and made a claim about them in response to the question drawn from the prompt, and we have presented and explained our evidence to substantiate our answer. And after reading all of this, the person reading your response might be asking, "So what?" This is precisely the question that the concluding paragraph is intended to answer. As you can clearly see in the objectives for the concluding paragraph, the conclusion must support the information or explanation being presented, and this can be done in a number of ways. One of those ways is to explain the significance of all the things that you mentioned. So I am now going to ask you, considering that this is the purpose of the concluding paragraph, why might it be appropriate to address that second question drawn from the prompt in the conclusion? And how did I meet these objectives in my concluding paragraph in the exemplar? Again, you may pause the video here and respond to this question in the class comments as your weekly participation in response to the weekly discussion topic. In the first sentence, I'm supporting the information that I've presented and explanations I give by restating my answers to the question, thereby reinforcing it. In the next sentence, I do the same by recapitulating my explanation of my evidence in the body paragraph. In the following sentence, I now begin to articulate the significance of this entire discussion of the creation of tension through the use of parables. I state that the effects of the tension and/or mystery and/or surprise to which the reader is subject is comparable to the feelings of tension experienced by Chinese immigrants, according to Amy Tan. So, essentially, a cultural experience is being reflected because the effects of tension, mystery, and/or surprise that are created in the narrative mirrors the experience of Chinese immigrants, whose experiences could be characterized by the same feelings. I essentially state this in the final sentence. So essentially, I conclude this response by saying that the discussion about the creation of mystery, tension, and/or surprise is important or significant because it speaks to a larger shared experience of a group of people, according to Amy Tan. Again, the concluding paragraph should support what you have discussed through the entire essay. Part of this should be done by recapitulating your thesis and your evidence and explanation thereof, and the other part of this should be accomplished by explaining the significance of the discussion. Do take time to develop your conclusion in a meaningful way that follows from what you discuss in your own response, as you can build on that for the Joy Luck Club project.